In today's episode, George reveals why now is the time to be buying a supercar. And is the Porsche Taycan market absolutely ruined, with cars selling for around £30,000 to £35,000? And we discuss whether Lamborghini have made the worst mistake in releasing their new Huracan replacement. We also discuss what happened recently in the capital with the Met Police confiscating a whole load of cars. This point was very close to us because a lot of our customers actually got affected by this. Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the GVE London podcast, and today I am joined by George and Bruce. So it's been a little while since we've done our last podcast. Everybody's been on holiday, as you can tell by our tans. But we're going to start this podcast on quite a positive note, and that is that car sales has been up in August, right?
Yeah.
Which typically is quite a slow month because everybody is on holiday. But even Car Dealer Magazine was saying that a lot of dealers have seen an increase of maybe like 5% in their sales. How have we been doing?
It's amazing to see that because naturally throughout all of August we were thinking this is a month you try and book your holidays because it's generally quite a slow month. People go abroad, they tend to not be buying things, they're not in the country.
School holidays, right?
School holidays, yeah. So every year progressively you've seen that, okay, it's a slower month than the other months. And this year round, it's been the busiest August we've ever had.
Really? In
terms of completed sales, in terms of inquiries, in terms of cars being offered.
What do you put it down to?
It's an interesting one. I personally think that people have seen that the car market stabilized, and they've seen that it may not be the best time to be selling a car because the market seems to have fallen significantly in the last couple of years. But it's a great time to buy. And I think people are sensing that certain cars are going to make a massive bounce back. So 488s selling for 120, 125,000 is insanely cheap.
That's crazy.
That has to come back up. And then we've got the other end of the market where, let's say, your newest stuff, like your everyday stuff, your BMW 3 Series and so on, that I think Car Dealer Magazine are focusing on, people would be buying those cars right now knowing that it's impossible to ever be looking at cars that cheap again. To get a car that's that new with such low miles and that spec, you won't be able to find an example like that, I personally think, in a year's time. So, you know, like when COVID happened and the whole market jumped up in price and everything went up in price because there was a lack of cars on the market. That is essentially going to happen, I think, again, but not at the same level, nowhere close to the same level.
But what do you think that will cause such a big spike?
So that opinion has come from what Car Dealer Magazine said, and they said they looked at the market and said that there are fewer cars up for sale than there have been in every August that have gone past. And that's what they've put the results of a busy August to.
So why would there be less cars on the market, less used cars on the market in comparison to previous periods? Because I thought we've caught up with supply. I guess it's a lag, right? It's a lag from that period where new cars coming onto the market were limited, right?
Yeah.
And so that never really hit the used market, probably until now.
Yeah, that, and I think people are realizing that cars are too cheap. So if people have the luxury of not having to force themselves to sell cars, which they most likely, I think we've come out of that period now where the interest rates were absurd and people were having to remortgage and having to force sell, panic sell, that we've passed that now. So people are thinking, why am I going to sell my car now? And if we bring it back to the supercar world, you're looking at a difference of sometimes on an £150,000 car, a £20,000 difference. That if you were to sell it this summer in comparison to next summer, you could make an extra 20 grand. 720s going for £115,000, £120,000. We know that's massively undervalued.
That is so undervalued. That car has to go back up at some point.
A million %. 750s to be trading for £250,000 when they're a 350 grand car.
Oh my God, I feel sorry for anybody that bought that car. But then again, I mean, have you driven it?
I've driven, a customer came in with a demo car from McLaren and he just couldn't stop raving on about it. He's like, oh, it's the best car ever made. It's amazing. It's like a 765 RT, but less harsh.
Yeah.
And I just think, if you're spending that much money and you want it to be that quick, why don't you want it to be harsh? Like I would much rather take a 765 over a 750
What
any
did it
day.
feel like, the car?
Yeah, it felt very quick.
Yeah.
But for the road, the 720S is perfect.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
has all the speed you need.
And then you can get that for half the price. Why wouldn't you just go for that?
Yeah, and it's crazy. And then if you want it for the track because it's quicker, then go for a 765 LT. It's a much better car for the track. So 750 is a bit of a funny one, I think. And that was them trying to like squeeze out the last remains they can of that chassis and that gearbox and that engine.
I definitely think that was the case. But, you know, I was just in my local coffee shop just a little while ago, and I was speaking to one of my friends who's actually a customer down here as well. But he's just picked up a Taycan Turbo S, brand new, right? Every option ticked. And 165 grand list. No, maybe a little bit less. Maybe something like 150 grand list.
Can I guess?
How much he picked it up for?
Yeah. Was it brand new, delivery miles?
Brand new delivery miles. Maybe it was a demo. It might have been a slight demo, so maybe 1,000 to 2,000 miles. So he's gone to the Porsche dealer and he's seen that they've lowered the price down to like 110 grand, right? 120 to 110.
I think I know what he's got it for.
And keep that in your mind. Oh, go on, tell me. What do you think he's got it for? Go on.
Just under 90.
Okay. So he said to them, at 120 grand, he said, I will buy that car at 70 grand. Yeah? And they started laughing at him. And he said, okay, well, you know where I am. Just give me a call if you change your mind. They go away. 2 weeks goes by. And the car's been lowered down to 100 grand. Right? And he calls them up. Hey, by the way, I'm still here. And then it gets lowered down to 90 grand. Right? And he's like, guys, you know, just whenever you need, just give me a call.
You're wasting your time dropping it.
Yeah. And then it gets lowered down to 80. And he's like, look, I want to buy that car. Stop messing around. And then finally, they settled at 75 grand.
That is insane.
75 grand, only
Fully
down
spec'd.
to about 2,000 miles.
Was it the Sports Turismo, so like the hatchback one or the saloon?
I believe it was Sports Turismo, yeah.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable, right? How can it go down that much in value?
That's okay. So that's not a reflection of the whole market. That's just the electric market.
Yeah. I mean, electric is a market within itself, right?
Yeah. That is. At the same time, so we had a customer come to us and he's like, I'm looking for a Taycan. I think they're really, really good value right now. But his question was, which was a fairly hard one to answer, and he's like, because they've crashed so much in value, and if I get it at really low mileage, am I now saving myself from depreciation, or will it continue to fall? Where is the floor of these cars? So my advice was get a PCP figure from Porsche and see what they value the car after 3 years. What would they say? Guess what they put a value on? It was about 90 grand at the time. So it was brand new.
90 grand on a Turbo S.
Yeah. No, Turbo S, Taycan, Sports Turismo, 90 grand, which was already massively under list.
Yeah.
He managed to get a PCP figure of something like just over 30 grand after 3 years. Like that's a third of the price. A third of the price.
So they are saying after 3 years, after probably doing 10,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
That they think that car is going to be worth that £30,000 a day.
I don't think it's so much Porsche doing that because it's the underwriters that have to get involved. Right? If it was Porsche, they're
but
probably...
surely Porsche Financial Services would underwrite it, no?
Yeah, but I think if it was down to Porsche, the manufacturers alone, they would like put some more confidence back into it. Yeah. But whoever's giving their money away is like, hold on a second, I don't have that confidence in this car right now. It has to be less than that.
I'd buy one for 30 grand.
Yeah, 100%. You can get them. You can get, not a Turbo S, but you can get an 18, 19 plate Taycan 4S for like 30, 35 grand at the moment.
No way, they've dropped down to that much.
Yeah, but bear in mind, the batteries only have, what's the life on like on an electric battery? Because they normally say like 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah, but they're failing earlier.
Are they?
They're 4 years, 5 years, and having a lot of problems. That's why the prices are going down.
Well, especially on something like Porsche, right? Tesla were the first movers. They've learned from all their mistakes and whatnot. So their cars are running for a lot longer than probably any other car, right? But Porsche, when they came on, the Taycans had so many problems at the start, right?
Mainly the quick charge. You know where you can get the quick charge and petrol station stuff?
Yeah.
That's what ruins the batteries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's just putting so much stress on the battery. It's putting too much load on it without even going on a slow process, and it's just killing the battery.
I think what would be a good idea is just to go through Auto Trader and see some of these Taycans that are up for sale, right? But you've got them starting at around like £39,000
Before negotiation.
That's before negotiation. But you got a 20 reg that's done 30,000 miles up for 42 grand, right? And that looks pretty damn good. It looks like it's in decent condition.
What
nice
is that?
color.
A Taycan 4?
Okay, this is a Taycan 4S.
An S.
Yeah.
That's not even a base model then.
That's not a base model. 79 kilowatt an hour car, 20 reg. Mate, you get 250 miles range on that car as well for 42 grand, 41,500.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's funny you just mentioned that, because when these cars get older, Bruce, do they lose their range, or do their range stay the same?
They will lose their range. Everything wears in. The motors, electric wires, cables, everything.
So if someone picks one of those up for 40 grand and it says online that you get 200 odd range, what do you realistically think?
It's the battery. Like I said, it's the fast charging. As soon as anyone wants to charge their cars really fast, right? So as soon as they put a fast charger in it, it kills the battery cells. And that's what's killing the lifetime of the battery. So it's like the new mobile phones. They're talking about this fast charging, this and another. As soon as you put in fast charge, leave it about an hour, your phone gets really hot.
So
I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's actually killing your battery, and they still haven't worked it out right, but they're just pushing it through sales.
So let's say someone buys that for 40 grand and it says 200 mile range. Realistically, what do you think they'll get out of it? 4-year-old car done 30,000 miles. It's probably hard to answer, but like on a percentage wise, do you think it'll have?
I'd say half of it.
50%.
Yeah, 50%.
So a 4-year-old electric car has 50% the range that it
50%
says
range.
from.
Yeah, that's right.
That is crazy.
I've got a friend of mine who's
That's £30,000 down the drain then, surely.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Unless you get the battery changed. I don't know if this. I don't know.
But
I still
that's
don't know if they're under
expensive.
warranty. Yeah.
And warranties don't cover the battery, which is why.
Is that right?
So I know Tesla has a 10-year warranty on their battery, and they're one of the only ones who do that.
Wow.
When Ferrari started doing hybrid power, they stopped after 4 years. They won't put a warranty on the battery. McLaren do hybrid power. Porsche does 8 years warranty.
Or 100,000 miles. Yeah, but see, that's bad, because I could easily do 15,000 miles in a year, right? And then...
And the rest. Like if you have an electric car, you're driving up and down the country. Yeah.
Actually, I've got one friend that's been using his i7, and he keeps on going from London to Birmingham. He goes that he's done nearly 100,000 miles in 1 year.
Wow.
From going from business to business. And he's just like, it's one of the best cars he's ever driven.
But imagine losing your warranty after 1 year.
Yeah, there you go.
Have you checked what the warranty
about
is
it?
on your i7?
Huh?
Say again? Go on.
The warranty on the i7. Yeah, we don't drive it that much. Huh?
Yeah.
Porsche Taycan Turbo S, right? Performance Plus, 70 reg, done 17,000 miles, £65,000. So now track your mind back to what I just said about the new car that my mate just got for 75 grand. Would have been a 23 or 24. It would have been 24 pretty much. And he's got it for 10 grand more. So even that price of £65,000 for a Turbo S at the moment on the market probably isn't right still.
I think you single-handedly right now have just caused the Porsche Taycan market to crash.
No, come on. Everybody's talking about it. We're just highlighting it, right?
Everybody's talking about it. Like, you see the engineers, the Porsche engineers, they get paid a lot of money. Why? When the warranty runs out, the car has to break down.
Yeah.
That's their design. That's their job.
Yeah.
As soon as the warranty runs out, battery goes, electric wires goes, motors goes.
Who would spend 55 grand on the battery though? Surely just scrap the car.
Yeah, you have to. That's a write-off.
Yeah.
Right? And
Just let go of it.
okay, so we've talked about cars falling so much in value, but is there some cars in our part of the market that have gone the opposite direction?
100%. So this conversation started with how stable the market is and how sales have gone up in August. But at the same time, the electric market, like the Taycan, they're going to continue to fall. And that's a completely separate market to us. Because Look at, for example, the SVJ. The SVJ in the last year alone, or let's say in the last 2 years, has gone up in value by about £100,000.
Bloody hell.
While everything month by month was falling by £10,000, the SVJ was going up by £10,000.
Yeah.
That's one example. You got the likes of the 488 Pista.
So 1 second, on the SVJ, let's have a quick look at
You'll
it.
find the cheapest SVJ Roadster will be just under 500.
That's crazy,
Half
isn't
a
it?
£1,000,000. And you know how much we were buying them for 4 years ago? A Roadster. 350, 360. They're up for sale for.
That's crazy. 550, you've got a 2,200 miler Roadster for £550,000. You've got £530,000 that's done 4,000 miles. It's just crazy, huh?
Yep. And we've had so many people asking us for Roadsters recently.
Really?
Yeah. So we sold a car to a raffle company last week, and the owner of that raffle company was like, I need an SVJ Roadster, I need a Cullinan, I need this, I need that. And then that's his personal collection. Oh. And then straight after, James was saying on Instagram, we had like 3 messages last week, I want an SVJ Roadster, but you have to find it for me under 500. And it's impossible. Like, they're coming to us because they're saying we get offered more cars than anyone else. Yeah. Like, can we find an SVJ Roadster under 500,000? Unfortunately, it is a very hard task.
Is there any other cars that, I mean, SVJs we've known for some time that have really performed well, but are there any other models that we know of that have kind of suddenly started to do similar things?
So I think nothing's been as extreme as the SVJ. Like, that isn't an example. That's in a category of its own, how extreme that's been. But the interesting ones are when everything's falling, these have been stable. Because to say you can buy a car, put a couple of thousand miles and then get your money back, that's still a pretty awesome thing to do. Yeah. So in that category, I'd say the Pistas haven't dropped. The Pistas are still trading for like just under 300, 280 for slightly higher miles. Surprisingly enough, the F8s, the Ferrari F8s have been at the same value for the last year. And then another really interesting one is the Huracan Performante. And I think that is going to be the next creeper. That's going to be the next one to start slowly going up in value, because that is the last track-focused edition that they've done on a 4-wheel drive, naturally aspirated V10. They made the STO, which was rear-wheel drive, terrible sellers, rear-wheel drive Lambos. The Technica, rear-wheel drive, terrible sellers for Lambos. The Performante might be a bit of an insight here. I think that is one to hold on to for another 5 years, and that's going to go up. To say that you've got the last 4-wheel drive, naturally aspirated V10 Lambo ever made, yeah, that's one for the collection.
In terms of like the value on the Huracan Perfs, right? They're kind of starting at around 185, I see, or 180 to 185. For a good example, around 11,000 miles. So that's really good value for money in your opinion, right?
For the moment, I mean, really good value for money would have been pre-COVID when they were going for 160, 150. But that's past now. They're never, ever going to get back to that stage.
You reckon?
Impossible for it to get back to that stage. We sold a 28,000 mile Huracan Performante coupe for 170,000. And we were selling them pre-COVID with 2,000 miles for £160,000.
That's crazy.
So now we're seeing an increase all year round as well. These cars still sell really well in the winter. It's okay, yes, it's 4-wheel drive, it's still a supercar, but
not the Roadster.
And the Roadster. Because I think subconsciously people have this thing about buying supercars in the winter, and we've seen it every year. They'll come in and be like, I'm going to get a bargain on a supercar, but on a Spider, I only buy them in the winter because I get a deal. And then little do they know, we do this day in, day out. We look at the market. Like, there hasn't been that much of fluctuation on the price. It's very similar to what they're going for in summer. We don't drop the prices of convertibles in the winter. It's very similar.
And are they color dependent though, the perfs?
That's a funny one. So we've seen perfs sell really well in stealth colors. We've seen sold so many in like that satin gray color, the Grigio Titans is called. And then they do black. Black sells really well in them. But at the same time, so do the bright colors, the greens, the yellows, the oranges. That's the one model. And we just sold so white is never really a good color.
We've always thought that we struggle with white.
Yeah.
Right?
But for some reason, Lamborghinis do well in white as well. I think it's that sort of Dubai-esque look.
Miami. But so the Spiders are starting at around 205 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
For a nice example, yeah. There's you'll find some cheap ones out there that
Clocked.
Okay, so give us your view on it then. What you think that a lot of these cars out
A
there,
lot of these cars are clocked because they're easy. You can get blockers on them. You can do the mileage on them it's
Really quickly.
Pretty easy, yeah. So a lot of guys that do rentals and stuff like that,
yeah,
they end up clocking those cars, and then when they come to sell it, the car's got like 30,000 miles on it or 20,000 miles on it, even though it's done 60,000 miles, 70,000.
it messes up for the whole market, isn't it?
Yeah, of
because
course.
then you'll see a car online, and you'll be like, that's a really good value,
Yeah.
right? And it's got low mileage, so it's really good value. I want to buy that. And does that consumer know that actually, if you do your proper checks on it, that car's probably being clocked.
100%.
So if it's too good to be true, it normally is.
check it. Do you know what? While you said that, there's a perfect example already online. We've just sold a 21 plate Urus for the best part of £200,000, and I was having a look online, and I was like, we've done really well there. There's a 22 plate Urus VAT qualifying with less miles than ours, similar spec, and it's up for sale for £170,000. Like,
What?
that's ridiculous. I rang him up, spoke to him, and I said, okay, well, that's a really good deal. Like, I think we'd be interested in buying this for stock. We could do something with this. I was like, yeah, but most likely we're going to want to send it. Let's get it for a health check. As soon as I said that, we want to get it for a health check. So yeah, it's all good. Mileage was all good, but in the past it did have a blocker on it.
Oh,
So
Okay.
that is a perfect
Blocker.
example. Yeah. And then people can say the mileage is fine. So the law in the UK is that the mileage has to be correct on the dash, and it has to
Yeah.
represent what the correct mileage is.
yeah.
But what they don't know is where they can get stung is people would reverse the mileage in the past, but then they put it forward to the actual mileage, which, okay, yes, it represents the correct mileage, but you're not then allowed to sell the car back to Lamborghini. You can't put a warranty on the car. Everything is just
Well, you
finished.
can't put a Lambo warranty. You can put a normal warranty.
You can put a normal warranty,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But everyone wants the
Wants
ability
a
to be able to
Lambo.
sell the car back to
Yeah.
Lambo or be able to do something. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have any restrictions if you're spending that much money.
Well, I don't know. It's so hard to be able to tell. It's like, obviously we've got systems in place that we can really tick all the boxes and try and
But sometimes everything will be spot on. Mileage on the gearboxes and all the control modules
Really?
and stuff. And yeah, so say like the car's like done like 7,000 miles or 4,000 miles. We'll get the car on the ramp and we'll see corrosion on the drive shafts, and the discs are worn and driven hard and everything. And there's bushings that's been perished and cracked as if the car's done like 20,000 miles. That's how we find out. We're like, look, George, I don't trust this car.
don't trust it.
I don't
There's
trust
something
this car.
not
Yeah,
right. There's
Something not right. Take it to main dealer.
Yeah.
Get it checked there for again, and then do another history
Much
check.
better to do that. In the past, no matter how many checks we do, we still aren't able to find it out ourselves. And then when we send it to main dealer, then we find out the final thing.
Yeah,
that
they've had some
it
sort
was
of discrepancy. Yeah.
right?
So on that note, am I right in saying this? All of our checks that we do with our diagnostic machine is the exact same what main dealer would do. The only reason they'd know it is if there's been a marker on there in the past.
Marker on in the past, yeah. Like
But our machines are the exact
our,
same.
Our machine is spot on. Yeah, it's exactly the same as main dealer.
But it's just checking the markers
Yeah.
if the main dealers, if it's had it clocked there in the past.
Yeah.
That, okay, yes, this car was clocked before.
Okay, so George, it's not just the Huracan Perf, but it's the Huracan as a whole. That model, the prices actually have held quite well, especially when you compare it to things like the 488, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're going to say that it has something to do with the new release from Lambo.
100%. It's normally it's an exciting time when Lamborghini put it out there and say we've got a brand new model coming out.
Yeah.
This has been one of the most underwhelming launches of Lamborghini's history, I'd say. And this is after Lamborghini launching about 10 different versions of the Huracan. You thought everyone would be super excited. We've now got a finally brand new mid-range model. What's it going to be? Lo and behold, they're going to release a hybrid V8 twin-turbo Huracan replacement, the Temerario. And, okay, initially it was exciting. You're hearing that it's like close to 1,000 brake horsepower, super power.
1,000?
Yeah, with hybrid power. So it's like...
So what's the list price going to be?
I don't think they've released the list price yet.
But if the Revuelto is anything to go by, and that's what... so it's $350,000 list
That's
price.
300 GBP, yeah.
So yeah,
Before options. That would surely be before options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's base price. So then before you know it, it's say about $420,000, right? Between 400 to 420. And then if you, like, how much is that in pounds? Probably
350, 360-ish
360
with options.
pounds.
Yeah.
So £360,000 is going to cost you to buy what?
A
It
very
would be the
fast car.
entry Lambo. Because then there's not going to be anything lower than that, right?
Yeah, you're right. Oh, well, would you put it above a Urus? A Urus SE? Surely that would go above a Urus SE.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so mid-range then.
Yeah,
gonna be
mid-range. It's below the Aventador
I just
Revuelto.
don't know how long this will be sustainable to keep the list
Hybrid.
prices at this much money. Because in order for in order for people to afford this, they need to be making that much more money, right? And especially in an economy like that we're in today, where taxes are going up and capital gains tax is going to double and this, that, and the other. It's like, are people going to have enough disposable income to keep up with the list prices being this high?
It's a really interesting point. And I think the reason they've been doing it recently is the amount of overs people have been achieving on their cars.
100%.
So you got the SVJs going massive overs, the Revueltos still doing overs, the Uruses were doing massive overs for ages.
But it's not, so that's interesting to hear, because it's not as a result, it's not Lambo saying, do you know what, guys, our production costs have doubled, right? Our raw materials, everything has doubled now, right? Instead, it's no, actually, that might have gone up a little bit, but it's just because we want to make more money.
100%. Their profit margins have massively increased. And a good example of this is the G63s. The original list price of a G63 facelift in 2019 was like £130,000, 135 with some options. We were buying like really specced out first editions for 140, 150, brand new. Now, the latest Magno edition to date, which isn't any more of a car than the first edition, it's very similar technology, it's similar shape, same body, same chassis, same engine, same gearbox, £205,000 list price. And the only reason they continued upping the list price every 6 or 7 months was, you look at the second-hand market and you see £140,000 car being traded for £170,000. And surely these people in Mercedes or these people in head office are sat
Why
there
are
thinking,
these people making
yeah,
it?
why is that person who's got nothing to do with Mercedes and these specialist dealers over here, GVE, making so much money on these cars that why aren't we doing it? We should do that up front on list.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But I think...
But it's not just in, by the way, that is not just in the car market. It's in the luxury market as a whole. So Rolex, after so long, are now giving discounts on their watches, right? And Chanel, who have been consistently increasing their prices every quarter for the last few years now, have realized that, bloody hell, we've gone a little bit too high. And I think they're also looking at reducing some price,
Really?
or not giving discounts, but actually the list price of certain models is now lower than it used to be.
It's interesting that you said that, coupled with what you said earlier about tax going up and capital gains tax coming up, and labour, and especially in this country, going to be making things a lot more expensive for the wealthy. That is the overs market still going to be there in the following year? And if the overs market's not there in a year's time, and they find that not many of these cars are selling, not many prospective buyers are coming into flip cars, naturally they're going to have to lower the list price.
They have to. And the interesting thing was about the dealers wielding all this power, right? So what do we get asked so often is, hey, do you know, I feel like I need to play this game with Ferrari, so I'm just going to buy a few cars from them, and then I'm going to be able to get the latest Competizione and this and the other. I just think it's such a dangerous market to be playing that game now.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Because it's not a case of, hey, listen, I'll buy a 488 and I'll only make a 10 grand loss on that. and I'll make a 10 grand loss on the Portofino and then make a 10 in order to buy something that I'll make 100 grand profit on. Now it's like, shit, if you buy that car, you might lose 50 grand and you might lose
100%.
60 grand on that one.
But I think with Ferrari, this is the one brand that I'd say that you can probably never go wrong with.
Do you reckon?
Ferrari are the most strictest brand out of the supercar market
Yeah.
for flipping cars. They have the most heritage behind themselves. Like, you get a Halo Ferrari model and the market could be the worst market. We could be going through the absolute worst recession or whatever, the worst economy. But a Halo Ferrari is still going to be like any billionaire's
Achieving,
dream.
like,
That is always going to be held on a pedestal. McLaren, they could crash. Lambo, they don't necessarily make the best Halo cars. Mercedes, once again, nothing is on the level of Ferrari. So I think Ferrari is like, if you can play the game, and I've said this,
They're the ones to play with.
Yeah, Ferrari is the one. Just, you're going to lose money on cars, lose it with Ferrari.
Porsche?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Because Porsche, the list price on their cars are always so cheap. How Lambo have picked their price up. Even Ferrari, they just lifted the list price of the Purosangues up by £40,000.
No.
Yeah.
To what?
By 40 grand, they've upped the
but
price.
so it's gone from what to what?
So base price on a Purosangue was, call it 350, early 350 before options. Now it'll be 390 before options. That was, they done that a couple of months ago. So now anyone putting an order in that's getting it in a couple of months are saying, sorry, you're going to have to pay an extra £40,000 on your list price. And Ferrari can do that.
Yeah, the worst thing I heard about the Purosangue was one of our clients that ended up hitting his bumper. And, he brought it to us and we can repair everything, right? But do you know why they couldn't repair that bumper?
It's just fiberglass.
It's fiberglass, right?
Yeah,
and even when you take the bumper off and you look behind it, it's kind of like welded on. Is it welded or glued on?
Glued on panels and stuff in the back.
Glued on panels, right? And so they were like, we can't repair this. There's just no way to do it. So the customer had to go through insurance and it cost nearly £30,000 just to place the bumper. I mean,
that is crazy.
Yeah.
So on paper, the Temerario sounded like it was going to be an amazing car, right?
Very fast.
And then the second that they've done the unveiling, there's been so many negative responses to it. Why?
I mean, the Hurricane itself was one of the best sounding cars. Probably just under the V12, but the best sounding V10 ever made. And now to turn that into a twin turbo V8, that I think some people, like you said.
Let's have a quick listen. What's your thoughts on that?
V10 just destroyed it. It's like the first R8s that come out, V8s.
Why does that sound worse than a McLaren?
They put so many back boxes on there, probably.
Is it the emissions stuff now?
Yeah, it's definitely the emission stuff, yeah. So it's got loads of restriction on the exhaust system.
The Aventador S never sounded as good as the original Aventador because of emission stuff. And Lambo were the first to start acting on that.
Okay, so that's the reason why you think that this doesn't sound great.
Yeah, it probably needs a Novitec.
Back boxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can make it sound good.
You can make it sound bad, not as good as a V10.
Well, here's some of the stuff that people had to say about it, right? We put it out on our Instagram, and we thought we'll see if it's just us being a little bit biased that it doesn't sound that great. But suddenly we had a whole load of comments. It looks like a facelifted McLaren GT, or how I would imagine a 2024 China-made electric Lotus Esprit to look like.
Oh yeah, true that. Lotus.
It looks like that.
A Lotus, yeah.
And it sounds like my vacuum cleaner.
Bloody hell, what vacuum cleaner are these?
Dyson.
We're going to be getting these cars into stock soon, so we can't agree to any of these comments, right? This is literally the worst looking Lamborghini possibly ever made and sounds nothing like one. If ever there was a should have stayed in drafts moment, this car is exactly that. Sorry, that sounds shite. The side profile looks like a McLaren 650. I'm not a negative person, but the guy who's responsible for this should be fired. Right now, you have to take all of these comments with a little pinch of salt. in that some of these guys might not be Lamborghini owners, might not be in the market to buy any of these cars. So it's easy to make a comment like that if you're not a buyer,
Yeah.
right? But I don't know, man. I think it looks quite nice.
Really?
Yeah,
So-
I like the back of it. I think it looks quite cool.
you know-
You wait until I get my hands on that one, and I'll figure this out.
Do you know one thing that's quite interesting? When the 720S was released and there were pictures of it, all the comments were full of that. And I have to be honest, my hands up, I was one of those, like, that is a hideous looking car. That is disgusting.
You're trolling everybody.
No, it was like the headlights looked like sunken in. It looked disgusting. Didn't look like
On your
how
fake
it
account,
should.
you were going on to different 720Ss. Oh, that looks shite.
Sack in. but when it came out and then we saw they came into the showroom, how good they looked, I think it's just the future. And every big change, it takes a time to adapt to it.
Nobody likes change,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, I am looking at it and I don't really like the front of it. I much prefer the back. But I don't know, at some point, I'm sure it's going to start.
They should do like a special Performante or some special version of it, which will look amazing, I think.
What do you think?
It just doesn't look like a supercar.
That's interesting. That's interesting that you say that. Because I'm getting Honda NSX vibes or something like that.
Yeah, it's true. Do you know what was actually quite funny? That we were in London once. We were walking in Mayfair, and you saw the Revuelto parked there. This was ages ago, and you're like, do you know what? I prefer the Aventador.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how the Revuelto is such a beautiful car that surely
Give me an SVJ any day over that. Any day. No?
I mean, okay, that's a tough comparison because we have to wait for the SV version of the Revuelto to come out and then compare it. But yeah,
But in terms of styling and just how aggressive it looks and whatnot, any day SVJ, man.
that's interesting.
No, I'm the same. The Revuelto does sound good. Okay, it sounds better.
looks amazing.
But no. Aventador,
Really?
Aventador SVJ, they look much better.
There you go. We're
That's a
looking at
proper supercar
outside the body, and he's looking at inside the body. He's saying Aventador.
Okay, let's get a few more in and let's see.
Why don't we get our viewers to comment
Yeah, that's a
on-
good point.
on whether they'll go for a Revuelto or if they'll go for an Aventador SVJ.
No, that's not a fair comparison. I would go for an SV. No, the fair comparison is an Aventador S.
money.
Yeah, but that's not the special version. The special version of the Revuelto would be compared. So it should be the Revuelto
Or the Aventador.
compared to the Aventador S.
No, then I'll go for the Revuelto. Okay, fine. So there's been big news about the Met Police confiscating like all these supercars around London, you know, and there's been a big crackdown on antisocial behavior, whether it be racing or whether it be very loud cars, you know. I guess my point on it is there's many reasons why this is actually a good thing, but there's also things that I'd say, well, one second, why are the police not focusing on more serious matters surrounding cars, like how many cars are getting stolen every single day and what's happening to those cars once they get stolen? Fine, if a car's going to get stolen, it's going to get stolen, but we've seen in your case, right?
Yeah.
We've still not found that BMW.
Nothing. It's just I'm having to chase them up, and it's been about a month, and no updates, nothing. If anything, I've got more information through social media.
There you go.
You know, people.
And so, again, I guess the point is that thefts happen, right? We know that cars get stolen. But what happens after that? And that's where we need, you know, surely that's where we need the police to help out more than they're doing already, which is like, I don't know how though.
But this is why it's so frustrating, because you see in this article, and they had an abundance of their resources sat on the roadside waiting to see if the cars have the correct reg on there, because there's this whole thing where people put private plates on their cars and it's not registered to it, or their window tints are too dark, or it's too loud, they're revving too hard. I'm just thinking, hold on a second, got a prime example over here. So your car's been stolen, The police are saying, sorry, we can't really track into it. We can't. You said this, right? The police said we can't have someone follow every single move of the camera.
They couldn't find out what's what.
You had to go and do that yourself.
Yeah.
But yet they were able to. I don't know if you can pull this up, but how much police did they have sat in Mayfair over a weekend where they did this massive article saying they seized 1,000 cars, or the best part of 1,000 cars.
No. They're more interested on finding people and making money out of cars than finding cars, like actually going for crime. And like people go rob. There was a robbery around the area, right? And called the police, and they weren't really doing much about it, sort of thing. But at the same time, if a guy was driving a car without a number plate or dodgy 3D plates or something like that, straight away there's a police in the front and back.
What I'd say about that is it's the lowest hanging fruit, right? And so that, in my opinion, is probably the reason why. And what I mean by that is the police need to justify that they're doing their job.
Yeah.
Right?
Easiest criminals to catch.
Well, they're not criminals, right?
No, but easiest lawbreakers.
Easiest lawbreakers to catch are, hey, that guy went 2 miles over the national speed limit, and so now let's get him, on our KPI report.
Yeah. That
we need to show our bosses. Look how many people I fined this month. Look how many people. Da 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 da.
Everyone's pointing fingers at them, saying that, oh, you guys are doing a terrible job, whatever. Have to put it up to them. They do an amazing job, but whoever's setting precedent for telling them what to do, I don't think they just go out on their own accordance and say, let's park 10 police vans over here today and catch people. I don't think that's them. It has to be someone higher up saying, focus on this, focus on catching people for this sort of crime today.
Yeah. Look,
instead of...
what's the big thing in London right now? You're walking down the road, you've got your phone in your hand, you're like this, and then somebody races up behind you, takes your phone, right? And so, and it was happening so bad. You know what's happening with all these phones, by the way, right? They're going to China.
Oh, really?
What's happening is that people, I keep on reading the same article. People have Find My iPhone on, right? And then they're tracking where the iPhone's going, and it's ending up in China, right? Then a couple of weeks later, you're getting somebody that's got into your phone and saying, you need to send us money, otherwise I've got X, Y, and Z on you.
That's crazy.
That's some crazy stuff.
This phone is
crazy. You know what the solution is? You need a case with a strap that then you can put on your hand. Yeah. So that, and then I've seen like ladies that have stopped their cars, their phones from getting snatched out of their phone. Now, but why I came onto that was because the Met Police obviously realized how serious this was becoming. Every day they're getting like 100 people getting their phones stolen like this, right? Yeah. And 0 convictions. So then they started doing stings, right? So they started knowing that, okay, this area is a hotspot. So undercover police officers would walk up that road using their phone, and then suddenly somebody will come and then they'll grab that person, right? Yeah. That was brilliant. And so finally I started to see on social media that this is happening. I'm like, thank God, because unless the thieves see this, they'll carry on. They'll carry on, and they'll just, it's big money actually when you think about it, if it's being done in the thousands, right? But why wouldn't they create stings like this for Range Rovers? Yeah. When a Range Rover is getting stolen, set it up.
That's very true.
Set it up, right?
Such an easy thing to do. Park a Range Rover somewhere and pretend that it's got no immobilizer, nothing. Leave it overnight, but have surveillance.
Yeah.
Monitor
and then
what's
second
happening.
That person tries to do it, make it the easiest card to steal. Get your 480. Remember 488s were a big thing?
Yeah. Pistols were getting stolen.
And now
Rolls Royce Cullinans.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's the same technology.
I know somebody in my area got his Lexus stolen a day after he bought the brand new car. No. Yeah, man. And then yesterday I was speaking to somebody about Lexuses because he's thinking about getting one as a family car. And he said, actually, I'm not going to bother anymore because it's £4,500 to insure it for the year. A family car. I don't know what the family version of a Lexus is, but so that's how much it's costing. But yeah, I think, okay, this is just our humble suggestion that do stings on that as well.
100% agree with you. I think that'd be great. Just a quick one with what you said about people stealing phones and watches. So when the Sun or the Daily Mail, whoever did the article, on the front page of it was an orange Urus S. That's our client who bought that car.
And this is for the operation to seize all these cars, right? Yeah.
So that, when they seized his car off him because it had too dark window tints, the window tints were way too dark, they seized it from him. He told me 1 week before, he was walking down Berkeley Square and he was wearing a Patek.
Yeah.
Someone came to the Urus, went on the window, took his Patek off and took his phone. And I think he had his crypto wallet or something on the phone.
No way.
He rang the police and they said, okay, we'll turn up, but we're guaranteed not going to be able to find them. We recommend you go to the police station and make a report.
Yeah.
He did whatever he had to do in his own ways to get those items back without the help of the police.
No. He got them back?
He got it back.
How?
I think he found out which culture or which nationality they were who stole it from him and then managed to go through his contacts to then find out where it was, got it back. He's clearly got some influence within that
community.
Yeah, that community. But a week later when they seized his car, he said to them, he's like, you guys are all sat over here and I rang you a week ago and my phone was stolen, my watch was stolen from my car and you told me to go to the police station and make a report. Yet, I see hundreds of officers sat over here just doing nothing, sat there looking at cars going by to see if they've got dark tints, to see if they're speeding, when there's people out there who have life-threatening criminal activities happening to them and they're doing nothing about it. So,
but I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right that it's not the individual policeman or policewoman that's making that decision. Yeah. It's orders from above and then they're having to do whatever they're being told what to do, right?
Yeah,
but
it's terrible.
It is terrible, but even with these guys that are snatching phones, I'm sure that there's some sort of law that means that the police can't even chase them fast enough because in case they fall down and kill themselves. So it's a crazy world we live in at the moment, right?
I mean, I was going to say something really nasty there, but I'll say it. Someone who's out there who wants to steal watches and steal phones, they fall and kill themselves.
That's their fault.
That's the life of karma.
Yeah, that's it. It's debatable, right? Your window tint being a little bit too dark. Is that really that bad? Do you really need to? Why don't you just quickly give them a 100 quid fine and let them be on their way, right? But then there's some idiots that get behind a car and they don't respect the power that they have in that car. And then they put their foot down. And we've seen countless examples online, on social media of people wanting to rent a car out for a wedding, and then they've taken a Lambo and they've ended up in somebody's living room because they put their foot so hard and they spun out of control and landed in a house. Right? We've all seen.
Yeah.
So have you seen that clip of the 812 coming onto Park Lane?
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Look at this, Bruce.
I know what Bruce is thinking. He's actually controlled that pretty well.
That was
do you think
unconscious control. You know that.
What do you mean?
He didn't mean to control that.
Yeah, but that was good.
The car handled itself.
Yes, surely that's...
No. Then it wouldn't have been drifting if it was.
No, he put it on track mode. He put it on track mode.
Yeah, he's controlling that. It wouldn't have done that.
And he's sending it, but the car is so well tractioned.
Yeah.
So it's straightened itself out, sort of thing.
You reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
That could have done that itself, yeah?
Yeah. He's doing it. He's not doing it purposely.
Yeah, 100%.
I've seen people in that situation when it goes like that and it kicks out. Is one jerk reaction and that's it. You spun and gone.
But if they've switched off all the mechanical aids.
No, like in race mode. Race mode still has traction on. Yeah, the 812 is one of these.
It turns the traction off.
That is
that's right.
If you drive on Park Lane, right?
Yeah, it's stupid.
The lanes are narrow.
Yeah.
Right, and you've got people sitting in cabs coming by you and whatnot, and you've probably got families that are all sat in one car. That if that guy in the 812 fully lost it, like you're saying, right, and smashed his bloody 800 brake horsepower car into this
bus or whatever,
not even a bus won't feel it, but if he smashed it into a London black cab,
Yeah.
and it was full of a family, then that's some messed up shit.
100%.
Right?
It's
And
not worth taking the risk.
it really isn't. And hence that's why I think there's partially, I do agree with the police to some extent for the idiots out there, right?
So
and look at this. Have you seen this Range Rover SVR? And he's gone onto the other side of the road, didn't realize that there's a oh my God. Look at that.
Pretty now.
Single carriageway. He's
Yeah.
have you seen this?
Yeah.
So that's terrible.
Do you know what would be good for them to do is look at the statistics within central London and see what has there been more of. Has there been more of driver and fueled car crashes, or has there been more robberies and attacks and cars being stolen? And then decide, where do we allocate
Deploy.
the police? Yeah, where do we deploy the police towards?
Yeah.
Because at the moment it just feels like exactly what you said. Let's just get results and get them to do the easiest thing by stopping
Lowest hanging
drivers.
fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
812 is
812.
renowned for doing that. Any rear-wheel drive V12.
And he's put his foot down.
Back wheel spinning.
Oh my God, no!
He flipped it.
I'll tell you what it is, right? If you're putting your foot down, all the weight is going to be on the back, right?
Yeah, it lifts up here.
So at the front, it's lifted up.
Yeah.
So now you're flooring it. Now, if you keep it floored,
Your front.
you're fine.
Yeah.
No, you're fine because the car has downforce and whatnot, right? And it's gonna keep you stuck to the ground. That's if you go onto all these Ferrari track days and whatnot, right? That's what they're gonna tell you while you're in Silverstone and you're on a straight. They're gonna say, and you've got an instructor sitting next to you. He's gonna say, put your foot down. He's gonna be screaming in your ear. Put your foot down. Keep it as low. Keep it as hard as possible. Right? Pedal to the metal. And then, but if you suddenly lift up like that, right? In theory, what will happen is that all the weight will shift.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when your back suddenly lifts up like that. And that's when you lose the back, right? So I reckon that's what's happened in that car. That he's shat himself because so if you're gonna lift up, if you're not too confident with what you're doing with the car, right? Don't put your foot down straight away
100%.
and then lift up straight away, right? You have to lift up gradually, and that's where he's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Analysis.
racing, my Caterham racing analysis, because I've done that a few times in a Caterham.
No way.
Yeah, man, I nearly killed myself, say about 5 times. Yeah, I'll get a clip and maybe we can share it. But and it was always because I would just suddenly lift, right? You have to gradually
And it'll
lift.
just spin.
Huh?
Or you spun out in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's zero mechanical aids like helping you on that, right? But okay, fine. So the lesson there is don't drive like an idiot, right? And
In an 812.
the police do a good job most of the time, but I think they really need to deploy resources into serious stuff that or the whole society is facing at the moment, which is stuff like thefts and antisocial behavior is people nicking your phone off you, or people threatening you with a knife in order to take your watch off you. That's antisocial, not a darker tint on your car.
Agreed.
Okay, so I will be running for London Mayor next year, and vote for me. So George, we had an interesting scenario the other day, right? And it was we were so close to buying a Rolls Royce Spectre. Right?
Yep.
And the guy paid 430 grand for it list.
Yep.
And so both me and you sat down and we're like, okay, we would only ever buy this if we can really get it for good money. Like, it has to be a steal because, and that's not us being bad, it's us saying, actually, do you know what? This is such an unknown market. If we buy this and we hold it, and it doesn't sell for the next 3 months, we're screwed, right?
True.
And so there's a lot of going back and forth. And I think we got to a point we could have bought that car for say about 310 grand or something.
Yep, 310 it was being offered for plus a small premium. But the one really scary point is, and this would be really good to hear in the comments because I don't know of anyone. I don't know of a single person who's bought a used Spectre.
No way.
Because it's a tax write-off.
Okay, so yeah, you get your P11Ds better. You can write off the tax.
Yeah. But what's the benefits in buying it used? It's still a very expensive car at £300,000 for an electric car. When you look at everything else that's happened to the rest of the electric market, no one wants to lose the best part of £500,000.
Yeah.
So, as an example of that, with that car, you can now see it on the market with another dealer. If someone did go and buy it, it's now up for sale for £325,000.
Oh my
it's
God.
It's dropped the best part of £10,000 every 2 weeks.
Oh my
God.
I think the trade on that car, if it's up for sale for 325, right?
I think they're very close to make a loss on that car soon.
No, but what do you think that if now that person who owns that car wants to trade it? So, okay, 325 is what the retail money is on that car. But if somebody now wants to trade that, surely you're looking at...
Rolls Royce won't buy it.
Well, Rolls won't buy it back, right?
And a lot of dealers didn't buy it. We didn't buy it. There was offered to other dealers. No one really done it apart from one dealer who thought they'll take a chance on it. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
It's not worked out. But I'm just thinking, I reckon 290 in the trade?
Less.
280?
Yeah, it'll be less. It'd have to be so cheap that someone would have at least a 50, 60 grand spread across it.
Oh my God. That's crazy for a car that was a 430.
Yep, 430
list. Unbelievable. You have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. And until the next episode, see you later. Good?